Zhu knew that there were traps near Zhang Yi's house, so he didn't dare to come over. Wait for me a moment, I'll be here right away. He reached out and took out the snowmobile from the alien space, opened the door and said to him, "Come up, it's too cold outside." Fatty Zhu happily sat in the passenger seat, and Zhang Yi turned on the air conditioner in the car. "Brother Zhang, where are we going today?" Zhang Yi said calmly, "Go to a school and save someone." "Save someone? Oh, I understand. That must be your important relative or friend, Brother Zhang." "Right." Fatty Zhu looked serious. Zhang Yi curled his lips slightly. "A very important person, pretty much." Not long after Fatty Zhu was moved, his talkative nature started to show up again. He kept nagging in Zhang Yi's ears, wishing he could tell Zhang Yi everything about him from childhood to adulthood. Zhang Yi was also quite speechless, now that they had met. He couldn't even use his smart voice to deal with Fatty Zhu. "Zhu Lily from our village, I'm not bragging to you. She has definitely been secretly in love with me for a long time. By the way, what is the attitude of the people in your village towards me now?" Zhang Yi asked this question deliberately. Fatty Zhu's words stopped suddenly, and his expression became strange. This, you still need to ask? Zhang Yi killed or maimed half the men in their village. It is absolutely impossible to expect those people to be grateful to him. The two people were waiting in the car, not long after. The snowmobile appeared on the other side of the road. Soon, Uncle Yu drove the car closer. "Zhang Yi. Long time no see." Uncle Yu was very happy to see Zhang Yi and came over to say hello cheerfully. When Zhang Yi saw Uncle Yu, his eyes also showed admiration. Uncle Yu's ability is physical strengthening, which can strengthen his physical strength and increase cell activity. Therefore, his physical strength is extremely powerful, and his self-healing ability is far beyond the ordinary. "Long time no see, Uncle Yu. You are in good condition now." Uncle Yu raised his arms proudly. "That's right, I feel 10 years younger now. Like a man in his 30s. Young man, your physical strength and energy are at their strongest." Zhang Yi introduced Fatty Zhu to Uncle Yu. "This is Fatty Zhu. Zhu Chunli, a user with ice and snow abilities. He can control ice and snow. This is Uncle Yu Jiguang, a user with physical enhancement abilities, a respectable veteran." Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu said hello, and we were acquainted. However, both of them were murmuring in their hearts. Are the three people at the scene strangers? This is only the early stage of the end of the world, and those who are awakened are extremely rare. Uncle Yu couldn't hide his thoughts, and asked Zhang Yi with his arms crossed, "Zhang Yi, what are you going to do this time? Do you need the three of us to go there together?" Fatty Zhu also looked curious. "Three strangers are working together. I'm afraid the other parties is en small." Zhang Yi waved his hand. "It's not as complicated as you think. Just go to school to save a female student." Female student. The eyes of Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu became eager. "How old? In college? How old are in elementary?" Zhang Yi said, "She is my girlfriend's sister. I just found her trace. She is in the school more than 20 kilometers away from here. I found something abnormal nearby, maybe a mutated creature. For safety reasons, I called you here." Fatty Zhu noticed something was wrong from Zhang Yi's name. "Mutated creatures, aren't they mutant people?" Zhang Yi sneered. "Who said that only people can mutate?" "People can mutate, and any cell organism can mutate." Uncle Yu asked curiously, "Do you know what it is?" Zhang Yi shook his head. "I don't know either. Tianhai City has quite a complete range of species. There are so many people raising pets. And there are also marine fish, shrimps and crabs in the seafood market. Who knows what kind of thing mutated into a spirit? Of course, it might be a human, but if it's a human, he must have gone crazy." Zhang Yi thought of the penetrating voice, which was definitely not something that normal human vocal cords could produce. Uncle Yu laughed and said, "It doesn't matter. No matter what it is, the three of us can clean it up properly when we go there together, right?" Zhang Yi nodded. "That's what I mean, the three of us together. Nothing can endanger our safety." Uncle Yu nodded. "Then what are you waiting for? Let's go." "Okay, let's go." Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu got on the snowmobile, while Uncle Yu he was riding the motorcycle Zhang Yi gave him. Zhang Yi started the car and drove towards Tianjin College, with Uncle Yu riding a motorcycle beside him. Heavy white snow has covered the entire campus, except for a few bell towers and the spires of tall buildings emerging from the snow. This top aristocratic school, covering an area of 2,000 acres, has completely disappeared from the ground. At this time, there was a group of students taking refuge in a gymnasium in the school, under the snow. The air was thin, coupled with the horrific incidents they had experienced in the past few days, making everyone physically and mentally exhausted. Yang Xinshin, who can only sit in a wheelchair, is regarded as a burden even if she does nothing. Some people even blamed Yang Xinshin for the death of their friend. Everyone else is dead. Why can you still live as a cripple? Is it because of your existence that everyone is killed? Once this topic begins, it is difficult to end. Everyone seemed to have found an outlet to vent their anger, and they all looked at Yang Xinshin with angry eyes. At this time, a boy with his back against the wall and a delicate perm said helplessly, "What's the use of talking about it? Teacher Liang is reluctant to leave one person behind every time. What's the result? Oh, aren't more and more people dying?" Several girls around them showed fear and helplessness on their tired faces. Girl with wavy hair caught a glimpse of Yang Xinshin in a wheelchair. For no reason, a strong feeling of disgust arose in her heart. So many people have died. Why is this disabled person still alive? It's so troublesome to have to take her with me. Every time we run away, Teacher Liang is also serious. Why don't we just let her feed the monsters? That's right. What's the point of her? She looks like this. Maybe she will die of illness one day. Criticism of Yang Xinshin gave them pleasure in this despair. Just throw all the responsibility on Yang Xinshin. It was as if they could all survive if Yang Xinshin died. I think she is also a burden if she dies. Won't everyone have to work so hard escaping the monster? If she dies, the monsters won't let us go, but if there is a next time, we will leave her to seduce the monsters as bait. In that case, at least her sacrifice will be meaningful. Among the people to talk about Yang Xinshin, a girl with a ponytail suddenly stood up, with a weird smile on her face. She walked step by step in front of Yang Xinshin with her hands behind her back. Zhang Mengning walked up to Yang Xinshin and looked down at her condescendingly. Her eyes slowly turned vicious and said to Yang Xinshin, "Yang Xinshin, please die as soon as possible."
With a smile on her face, Zhang Mengning said, "You look like a complete burden now. So disgusting." Yang Xingxin froze in place for a moment, her eyes opened blankly, and 2 lines of tears fell directly down her cheeks. Everyone saw this scene. No one stood up to accuse Zhang Mengning, but instead started laughing. "Zhang Mengning, that's enough. We are all classmates. How can you say such cruel words?" A pretty girl with short hair came over and quickly stood in front of Yang Xingxin. A look of contempt flashed in her eyes, and she pointed at Lu Karen and said, "How dare someone like you, who is admitted to school with special care, dare to talk to me like this?" "I'm talking back. Have you forgotten your identity?" Lu Karen blushed, clenched her fists and said, "So what if your family has money?" At this time, if your family has money, can it save you? Zhang Mengning said angrily, "Shut up. No matter when, the gap between you and us is indelible. As long as we leave this hellish place and see the light of day again, you and I are still not from the same world." She looked at Yang Xingxin with vicious eyes, laughing and pointing, holding her. "Yang Xingxin, it's because you have dragged everyone down that so many of our classmates have died now." Yang Xingxin had tears in her eyes, being treated so viciously by Zhang Mengning, cursing. She didn't retort, she just lowered her head and let tears fall on the back of her white hands. Yang Xingxin couldn't stand her friend being so insulted. She retorted, "Zhang Mengning, Xingxin is also a human being, and she also has the right to live. Xingxin is not to blame for other people's deaths." Another girl said slowly, "But a person with a disability, who can only sit in a wheelchair, will really hinder us all." At this time, the evil thoughts that had been suppressed for a long time were also released along with everyone. Lu Karen stood in front of her and tried hard to argue for her. "What have you done for Xingxin? I'm always taking care of her. Don't blame others for your desperate situation. If she hadn't been ill, would she be friends with you? I think she just wants to boss you around and gain a sense of superiority from you. Don't be stupid. If she wasn't sick, she wouldn't pay attention to you." Lu Qi said angrily, "No way, Xingxin is not this kind of person." Yang Xingxin put her hands on her ears to shield herself from those harsh words. Among the students, a girl with elegant burgundy hair and delicate appearance suddenly walked over. "Everyone, please stop arguing. At times like this, we should all unite and help each other." She is also the league secretary of the class, named Shen Miaok. Shen Miao looked at Yang Xingxin tenderly, lowered her head, and said, "Xingxin, don't worry. Although you are in trouble now, we will not give up." Dang! Everyone turned around subconsciously, and then the 3-meter-high metal window outside the gymnasium was pushed down, and a 5 to 6 meter long, black, the claws clasped Zhang Yongkong's head and lifted it up into the air very easily. Zhang Yongkong's body was lifted up like a doll. Her whole body was stiff, and blood was gradually oozing from her head. Before she could ask for help, she was quickly pulled out of the window. The huge black monster brought it in front of her, stretched out its scarlet tongue, and took a lick. The barbs on it immediately scraped her flesh and blood, and her face had disappeared. The gymnasium erupted in horrified shouts. Everyone ran as fast as they could to the back of the gym. No one cares about Yang Xingxin anymore. Only Lu Karen is left pushing Yang Xingxin's wheelchair and runs behind. A group of people gathered at the back door, only to find that the door here was blocked and could not be opened no matter how hard they tried. "Damn it, it's frozen. Open it quickly, or we will all die here." At this time, the black monster had already entered the gym. Its huge body was more than 10 meters tall. Its whole body was dark and stained with blood, and the hair on its body was as sharp as steel needles. It held Zhang Yongkong with its 2 paws, licked her for a while with a smile, and then bit off her head. Blood gushes out like a fountain. "Ah!" A group of girls screamed in fright, covering their faces and falling to the ground with weak legs. The monster threw half of Zhang Yongkong's body aside, then raised its tail and walked toward the gymnasium with a smile. Facing the huge monster in front of them, they couldn't even muster the courage to resist. At this moment, someone suddenly pushed Yang Xingxin forward, who was sitting in a wheelchair. Yang Xingxin was caught off guard and fell forward with her wheelchair. Lu Karen was so frightened that she shouted, "Xingxin!" She wanted to save Yang Xingxin, but at this time, her legs were no longer in control and she could not move at all. Seeing the black monster getting closer and closer to Yang Xingxin, she lowered her head and began to look at the ground. At this moment, the boys who had just pushed Yang Xingxin ran towards the door violently. The black monster's head turned slightly, and its amber eyes stared at them. A mocking smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Before the boy could run out, he was slapped with its big black paws to the ground one by one. The black monster just used a little strength, but this power was not something his bodies could bear. His internal organs were crushed, and a large amount of blood spurted out from their mouths. But he didn't want to just wait for death, and he still tried desperately to get up and run back for help. The monster abandoned Yang Xingxin and turned around. Its big claws tugged and pulled them back. A hole was opened in his body instantly, and blood splattered. Lu Karen plucked up the courage and ran over to help Yang Xingxin up. Wu Chenjiu's eyes lit up, and he whispered to several close classmates next to him, "I understand. This monster likes to attack moving objects." Just now, Yang Xingxin escaped by lying on the ground pretending to be dead. No wonder Li Yong wanted to run away, but he died the fastest. Then what should we do? Should we lie down and pretend to be dead? It's not reliable to lie down and pretend to be dead. No one knows whether this monster is playing tricks on us. We have to do this. Quick, take advantage of that. The monster's attention has been attracted. Let's leave immediately. Some people are too timid to do this. After all, if they want to go out, they have to get past the black monster blocking the door. Everyone rushed together. It can't possibly kill everyone, right? If you stay here, you won't be waiting for death. Li Yong was covered in blood, but he still did not give up hope of survival. Desperately tried to crawl out of the door, and at the same time reached out to other students for help. "Help me. Don't give up on me." They turned a deaf ear to Li Yong's pleas for help. Li Yong was desperate. He shouted viciously, "Don't even think about living on your own." As he spoke, he pointed at the people behind the monster. "There. They want to run. They want to run." The monster narrowed its eyes slightly, turned its head strangely, and turned 180 degrees to look behind it. Several people's backs felt cold, and they chose to speed up and rush out in the thin line between life and death. Pop, pap, pap. The big paw quickly slapped down 3 times in the air. The movement looked particularly elegant and did not use much strength, but the 3 boys fell to the ground instantly, and their chests were smashed. Li Yong laughed with blood flowing from his mouth, knowing he would not live long. "Don't even think about living. Don't even think about living. If you want to die, let's die together." The monster got 7 cute little toys, and he became a little excited for a while. His big black tail was raised high, and his big paws were moving back and forth on the ground. Push lightly. And just when the monster's attention was all attracted by these 2 groups of people, Wu Chenju and the other 3, who had been preparing, rushed out and ran out of the gym. A proud smile appeared on the corner of Wu Chenju's mouth. "I'm sorry, it's better to let you die instead of dying with everyone." In the gymnasium, the monster found a few small mice that had escaped. Some people wanted to imitate Wu Chenju and the others and sneak away secretly. However, the monsters have begun to pay attention and hit them with his tail so hard he crushed the first one. Several female classmates screamed in agony, covered their heads, and almost collapsed. At this moment, an angry shout came, "Damn monster, don't hurt my students." As the monster turned its head, "Teacher Liang, it's Teacher Liang who's back." A tall woman with a high ponytail appeared at the door of the gymnasium. She held a sharp sword in her right hand and slashed at the monster. As blade passed through the air, there was a strange wave, and even the blade had a faint blue luster. This angry blade was so fast that it was a ringen, and the danger contained in the blade made the black monster unwilling to touch it, and quickly dodged to the side. Liang Yi's eyes were very sad when she saw a pile of corpses on the ground. Liang Yi's body slowly moved towards the gymnasium door, giving way to the door. The monster lowered its head and bit a student's body. The huge but extremely flexible body disappeared outside the gymnasium. Liang Yi held the knife in both hands and cautiously walked outside, step by step, but when I looked outside, I could no longer see the monster's body, only the crisscrossed ice and snow passages it drilled out of the snow. Liang Yi breathed a long sigh of relief, but at the same time, she felt indescribable fatigue. How long can she protect her students if she keeps playing cat and mouse games like this? She dragged a bag with some food on it and said softly, "Share the food with everyone."
All the hungry students came back running to see what the teacher has brought them.
After saying that, she found a corner, held her sword in her arms, closed her eyes, and began to rest. She was so tired. At this time, Jiang Men was so angry. She ran over and cursed at Yang Xingxin. "Why are you still alive when everyone is dead? You loser is the one who deserves to die. Why don't you die?" Yang Xingxin still said nothing. No words were spoken. Yang Xingxin still said nothing. No words were spoken. Lu Karen was indignant. "Jiang Menning, you being unreasonable? Can Xingxin be blamed for this?" Jiang Menning was crying while stamping her feet and scolding. "I just don't like her, so what?" Shen Miauk advised, "Jiang Menning, please stop being like this. Double quotes. As she said that, she took out a piece of food and handed it to Yang Xingxin. Jiang Menning knocked the food to the ground. She said fiercely, "Don't waste food on her. The food in the school warehouse is limited. Her disability will be eaten sooner or later. It's better to leave the food for useful people to eat." She closed her eyes. Teacher Liang Yi slowly opened her eyes. Seeing such conflicts among students, she slowly closed her eyes helplessly. She was so tired, and this happened almost every day. Every day, people go crazy, and people quarrel or even fight because they cannot bear the huge pressure. She no longer had any extra energy to care about these things. In the corner, a girl sitting on the gymnastics mat covered her head and said with broken eyes, "It's useless. It's useless. No matter how much we argue, it's useless." We will all die and be eaten by that monster. Don't you understand? We are all the food it deliberately raised. The reason why we can survive until now is because it likes to eat alive." What this girl said made everyone feel horrified. Indeed, every time the monster appears, it will select a few people to kill, and never kill too many people. It's like raising a group of chickens and ducks, and then picking out a few to kill when you want to eat them. We have no hope anymore. At this time, squad leader Wu Chenju gritted his teeth and said, There will be. We are the elites of this society. He is destined to be high and achieve great things in the future, so how could he die here? He raised his head and looked at the sky, which was already closed by thick ice and snow. As long as I can leave here and contact the outside world, my father will definitely bring someone over to rescue me. Zhang Yi, Fatty Zhu, and Uncle Yu followed the navigation and finally arrived at the old site of Tianqing College after more than an hour. After arriving here, there was only a vast expansion of white left between heaven and earth. Fortunately, there is a hill near Tianqing College, which can be used as a reference to avoid being unable to confirm the direction. Zhang Yi took out his mobile phone and wanted to contact Yang Xingxin for confirmation, but the phone couldn't dial the other party's number at all. My mobile phone signal is a bit poor. Zhang Yi was also helpless. Let's look for it. This school is very large, and there must be high-rise buildings exposed. The map has the structure of the school. As long as you find a building, you can figure out the approximate location of Yang Xingxin. Fatty Zhu revealed with a bitter face. This kind of aristocratic school is quite big. I heard there is even a golf course inside. Zhang Yi nodded. This school covers an area of 3,000 acres. Let's find it slowly by car. So the three people got in the car and started looking for traces of high-rise buildings nearby. Sure enough, after a while they saw some spire-like buildings. There is a tall tower ahead. Go over and take a look. Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu got out of the car and walked over to check it out. Based on the drawings found online, Zhang Yi confirmed that this was the astronomy center of Tianqing College. Zhang Yi looked at his phone and thought carefully. Fatty Zhu said, "Is it possible that they are hiding in the classroom or in an open place like the gymnasium? After all, if you want to move under the snow, you must have a large space. Otherwise, the oxygen concentration will not be enough. Also, we have to consider the risk of the snow layer above our heads collapsing. The first is the dormitory and the canteen. The place is the most likely. After all, there are clothes, beds and food. Secondly, there are the gymnasium and various teaching buildings." Zhang Yi carefully analyzed Yang Xingxin's possible location. Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu began to try to find the entrance. This is simple for Fatty Zhu. He used his superpower to control the ice and snow on the ground to disperse around him, quickly revealing the space 4 to 5 meters. Revealing the windows below. Zhang Yi, you can go in here, Fatty Zhu said happily. Zhang Yi replied disapprovingly, "What's the use of going down here? We're not here to collect astronomical telescopes." He and Uncle Yu jumped in along the window to get something out. At this moment, Zhang Yi suddenly felt a light-like feeling on his back, which made his hair stand up. Zhang Yi immediately turned around, assumed a fighting stance, and pointed the guns in both hands forward. And when he saw what was in front of him clearly, he couldn't help but his pupils tighten. On the white snow, a huge black monster lay quietly on the snow, staring at it. The body lying on the snow seemed to be about to jump forward at any moment. Zhang Yi watched it warily, waiting for its attack at any time. But what surprised him was that the monster just stared at him with no intention of attacking. Even though a man and a beast were face to face at this time, he only felt strangeness from the monster, but he did not feel the bloodthirsty killing intent. Zhang Yi was startled by the sudden appearance of a huge monster, but he quickly adjusted his mentality. After all, he had experienced life and death many times, and his mentality had long been as hard as iron. Just as Zhang Yi was thinking about how to deal with it, Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu climbed up from the snowdrift and asked Zhang Yi for some ropes to climb down. When Fatty Zhu saw such a big strange thing, he was so frightened that he shouted, "Wow!" Out of instinct, He waved his right hand forward and activated his ability. The sky, full of ice and snow, was dug up from the snow and then swept towards the monster. Zhang Yi immediately shouted, "No!" The monster, crawling quietly in the snow, let out a soul-piercing scream and then moved like lightning across the white snow, so fast. After easily dodging the ice and snow attack, it rushed towards Fatty Zhu. The speed of the beast is indeed not comparable to humans. Zhang Yi did not hesitate and directly covered his whole body with supernatural powers. With the blessing of space powers, his speed can be doubled. Only in this way can he cope with the attack of that monster. Seeing the black monster rushing towards Fatty Zhu, Zhang Yi held the gun with both hands and fired quickly. "Uncle, you also rushed over." He stood in front of Fatty Zhu, his muscles all over his body quickly flexed, and even his head grew dozens of centimeters taller, turning into a burly man 2 meters tall. The bronze skin turned into a stone-like yellow, and then he aimed a punch at the huge monster. Boom! This punch hit the monster's face. The powerful attack caused a huge depression in the snow under Uncle Yu's feet, and ice and snow burst out. The monster's face was twisted at almost 90 degrees, and its huge body couldn't help but stagger back a few steps. Zhang Yi, without hesitation, he put away his pistol and replaced it with a sniper. To deal with this thing, the power of a pistol is not enough. It has to be a sniper rifle. Although the gameplay of Assault Sniper is not as flexible as that of a pistol, Zhang Yi's ability can hit the target without precise aiming. It naturally chose to rush towards Zhang Yi and decided to kill one first. Zhang Yi quickly raised his gun and shot. Bang! The roar of the big gun was deafening, and the bullets carrying supernatural powers made this power even more powerful. The black monster sensed the danger and quickly evaded it, but no matter how fast it was, it couldn't be faster than the sniper rifle. Bullets with supernatural powers. The black monster became angry and suddenly curled up on the snow, turning into a big ball covered with steel spikes and crushing towards Zhang Yi. The huge thorn ball rolled towards Zhang Yi, causing deep cracks in the snow. Zhang Yi's speed is absolutely impossible to avoid, but he had no reason to avoid it. Open the dimensional door. Zhang Yi opened the door of the same direction and different space directly in front of him. The black monster sensed a dangerous aura. Biological awareness of crisis far exceeds that of humans. The huge spiked ball made a sharp turn in the air and then rushed hundreds of meters away. Zhang Yi almost caught this guy. He also wanted to study the difference between this mutated creature and mutant humans. Zhu Chunli and Uncle Yu hurried over and stood with Zhang Yi, staring at the black monster cautiously. Zhang Yi raised the sniper rifle in his hand and pointed it at it. However, Zhang Yi did not fire, and the black monster screamed twice in this direction. The sound was so unpleasant that the three of them wanted to cover their ears. It seems to be swearing, and the curse is very unpleasant. There were speechless expressions on several people's faces. The black monster did not attack again, and it also realized that the three people in front of it were not easy to mess with. So it cautiously stepped back step by step, then suddenly turned around and ran back. Uncle Yu was stunned. Such a big monster disappeared in front of my eyes? Fatty Zhu said in shock. Is it possible that it also has the power of the space system? Zhang Yi slowly put down the gun in his hand and said, it doesn't seem like it. If it had such an ability, it should have used it just now. It's gone. They walked to the place where the black monster disappeared. Sure enough, they found a huge cave in the snow, leading deep into the snow. Fatty Zhu crossed his arms and said seriously, but if this monster is always nearby, there shouldn't be any living people in the school. Brother Zhang, is the information you got really accurate? Fatty Zhu's suspicion was not unreasonable, not to mention ordinary people. Even he was almost killed by the black monster without being fully prepared. And judging from that size, the amount of food required is also very huge. At least dozens of times that of ordinary people. The hole is so big that it is no problem even if you drive a car. If the monster needs to pass through, the hole drilled out will just bring circulating air inside. This may be why they were not suffocated to death. Let's go down from here and take a look. What? Get down from here. Fatty Zhu was startled. What if we encounter that monster again? It's its territory down there. Zhang Yi, he took a deep look at Fatty Zhu. Would you like to think carefully about what you are talking about? Fatty Zhu was a little overwhelmed by Zhang Yi's look. Zhang Yi took a deep breath helplessly. Have you forgotten what your abilities are? The three of them jumped down along the cave created by the monster. After falling to the ground, I discovered that the world under the snow extended in all directions. Zhang Yi took out the miner's lamp and turned it on, instantly illuminating a distance of hundreds of meters in front of him. Zhang Yi took out 2 boxes of colored pens from another space and said, "We use this thing to mark, so that we will not get lost underground." Uncle Yu sniffed, and said cautiously, "There is a strong smell of blood in the air." Fatty Zhu immediately said, "It should be from that monster. I don't know how many people it has eaten. We have to go to the passage with less blood smell." Zhang Yi spoke. He took out a golden pistol from another space and slowly began to stuff bullets into the magazine. "Uncle, you recognize the gun shape at a glance. Golden Sand Eagle." Zhang Yi loaded the bullet and said to Uncle Yu, "Uncle Yu, your reconnaissance ability is relatively strong. Let's follow the direction of the monster." Fatty Zhu was still a little scared. The power of the superpower did not make him bolder. It would be bad if we encounter it. Zhang Yi narrowed his eyes. "What are you afraid of? We are here. If you encounter it, just trap it with ice and snow." Hearing Zhang Yi's confident words, Fatty Zhu suddenly felt at ease in his heart. It's great to have such a big brother taking care of him. "Uncle, you led the way with the smell of blood," while Zhang Yi would stuff the colored pen into the snow wall every 3 or 4 meters, leaving only a small tail. "Teacher Liang Yi has been here for 3 days with more than 40 surviving students. The last time I looked for food was 3 days ago. For 3 consecutive days, she ate only a little bit of food, and the hunger in her belly made her restless and anxious." Liang Yi knew that things could not continue like this. As the only teacher in the team, she must help these children fight for a future. While Liang Yi was thinking, squad leader Wu Chenju and League Secretary Shen Miaok came over. "Teacher Liang," Wu Chenju spoke. Wu Chenju said, "Should we go out to find some food? If we continue like this, we will starve to death." Shen Miaok put her hands in front of her body and crossed her fingers with a pitiful expression. "You are our only hope. If you keep resting here and don't go out to find food, what will everyone do?" Liang Yi gently exhaled a puff of white smoke, glanced at the end of the ice and snow corridor, then flicked her long ponytail and walked towards the cafeteria. She said, "Okay, owing out for a while. Please pay attention to your own safety." Wu Chenju coughed and said calmly, "Teacher Liang, you don't have to worry about this problem. We will try our best to protect our classmates. If I leave, what will happen if the monster comes and attacks you again? I am a teacher and should not be angry with students." Wu Chenju had already selected several to sacrifice. He thought it likes to play with its prey and has the habit of storing food, so it only kills a few students. Shen Miaok clasped her hands together and said, with a pleading look on her face, "Teacher Liang, please hurry back, our lives depend on you." The door behind her was quickly closed by Wu Chenju. Rather than waiting for the monster to kill the students one by one, it is better to fight it. Liang Yi already had the awareness of death in her heart. When necessary, she will die with the black monster. Back at the gymnasium, Yang Xingxin was sitting in a wheelchair, still looking as fragile as a crystal rose. Lu Karen squatted down, reached out, and gently touched her legs and arms. "Does it still hurt?" Yang Xingxin looked at her only friend with a pale smile on her face. "I'm okay. I'm so cold that I can't feel the pain anymore." Lu Karen relaxed a little when he saw Yang Xingxin smiling. Jiang Mending looked at them both ferociously. "What a daydream. Do you think good luck will always favor you? How can you survive if you are disabled? You can't do anything. You will only be a huge burden. If I were you, I would commit suicide. Not only will my life be miserable, but I will also harm other people." Other students also looked at Yang Xingxin with strange smiles. Lu Karen couldn't stand it anymore and wanted to speak up for Yang Xingxin, but when She raised her head and suddenly saw a flash of amber appearing in the opposite window. That's a huge eyeball. Run? Where to run? When everyone came to their senses and ran away screaming, the monster's claws easily broke through the window reinforced by them and dug inside. The claws, as sharp as blades, swiped across quickly, and suddenly several people's bodies were cut open with long cuts, and the contents flowed out on the spot. Wu Chenju and others were afraid, but in order to protect themselves, they grabbed a few unlucky ones and pushed them forward. The monster's arms were 5 to 6 meters long, with sharp claws like sharp steel knives, and the hairs on them were all sharp steel thorns. It stretched its big paws in and started to dig inside. I dug out, and I dug out again. The hellish screams were even more permeating, especially when these sounds came from his classmates. At this time, Liang Yile, who had been hiding her aura in secret and waiting for an opportunity, seized the opportunity and finally made a move. A faint blue smoke slowly dissipated from her body. She held the scabbard with her left hand and the handle with her right hand. With a loud shout, she was already in front of the black monster like lightning. The white sword flashed through the air, aimed at the monster's neck, and slashed down. In this battle, Liang Yi has burned up all her strength. This is a desperate battle. The monster was playing happily with the students and was not prepared for Liang Yi's sudden attack. Cat's reaction speed is indeed very fast, but in the blink of an eye, Liang Yi's EIE is just as fast. The sword flashed, a meter-long gash appeared on the monster's neck, and blood splattered. The monster stepped back 10 meters, but she approached like a ghost, and the struck sword down in the air. Liang Yue and the black monster were fighting fiercely. Zhang Yi and the other three finally found the exit. The appearance of Zhang Yi, Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu immediately attracted the attention of one person and one monster. Liang Yi, I have never seen them before. If they are not other survivors in the school, they must be from the outside world. Her eyes lit up with hope. Fatty Zhu immediately raised his hand and prepared to take action, but his hand was held down by Zhang Yi. Brother Zhang? Zhang Yi couldn't tell whether she was an enemy or a friend. The key is that he is here to find people, not to save. Zhang Yi stared at the woman in front of him intently. What a sharp swordsmanship. If you hadn't practiced martial arts since childhood and practiced the art of killing people hard, you wouldn't have had this kind of fighting skills. Uncle Yu was a little afraid when he saw Liang Yi's sword skills. After training in the army, he could also do a set of military boxing, but when he saw Liang Yi, he felt that the two of them were rigged. Liang Yuan was shocked. Did these three people just ignore her? And these three people want to enter the gymnasium, so they don't know what they are going to do to her students. What are you going to do? Liang Yi shouted anxiously. But now she has no energy to be distracted. She must deal with the huge monster in front of her with all her strength. Bang! The door of the gymnasium was pushed open violently, and the equipment blocking the door could not stop the humanoid titan Uncle Yu at all. Zhang Yi stepped in and glanced at the people in the gymnasium, and quickly found the girl in the wheelchair. He had seen Yang Xingxin's photo and recognized her. Fortunately, you are still alive. Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief. If she died before he could come over, his efforts would have been in vain. At this time, Wu Chenju straightened his hair, straightened his blue custom-made school uniform, and came over. Are you coming from the Zishan base? Is it my father's order? Zishan base? Where is that place? Zhang Yi frowned slightly. This was the first time he heard this name. Wu Chenju saw that they were fully armed. He put his hands behind his back and smiled slightly. My name is Wu Chenju, and my father is Wu Jiangguo, director of the Tianhai CZ Bureau. I think you should be familiar with his name. Zhang Yi asked with a smile. Are you familiar with the Zishan organization? He wanted to get some information. Wu Chenju was stunned for a moment, and he looked at the three people in front of him in astonishment. You are not from Zishan? Are you from other shelters? Zhang Yi heard that there are hundreds of emergency shelters in Tianhai City, but they are obviously not the ones Wu Chenju said. Wu Chenju noticed something was wrong. If these people are here to save themselves, they shouldn't ask so many questions. He gritted his teeth. It's a pity that when the snowstorm came, no one expected it to become so serious. Otherwise, I would have passed it now. Wu Chenju was worthless. Zhang Yi passed him and walked directly in the direction of Yang Xingxin. Other students realized that Zhang Yi and the others did not look like bad guys, so Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu gathered around them as if they were grasping at straws. My father is Wang Chongming, the chairman of Chongming Group. If you take me out, my father will give you whatever money you want. Zhang Yi came to Yang Xingxin step by step. Zhang Yi walked up to her, slowly squatted down, looked up over her bangs, and looked into her beautiful eyes. You are Yang Xingxin, right? Yang Xingxin raised her delicate little face and looked at Zhang Yi innocently. Yeah. Zhang Yi smiled softly and said, my name is Zhang Yi. Your sisters Yang Mi and Zhou Qier asked me to come here to rescue you. Can you leave with me? Please wait a moment. Yang Xingxin suddenly said. Zhang Yi tilted his head and looked at her curiously. What's wrong? Is there anything else? Yang Xingxin looked outside. In the ice and snow corridor, the battle was still going on. Can you please stop them from continuing to fight? I'm afraid she is in danger, Yang Xingxin said. Zhang Yi will need Yang Xingxin to help him maintain the shelter's network in the future, and letting her owe him a favor now will make it easier to build relationships in the future. Zhang Yi smiled, stood up, waved to Fatty Zhu, and said, come here, I need your help with something. Zhang Yi and the other three came to the corridor, and the battle between Liang Yue and the black monster had entered a fierce stage. Pieces of steel needles were scattered on the ground, all glowing with a black light. Zhang Yi picked up 2 of them and put them into his own alien space. Fatty Zhu stepped forward, turned his hands towards Liang Yue and the black monster, and activated his superpower. Huge cracks suddenly appeared around the ice and snow corridor. Liang Yue's pupils shrank sharply, and she quickly took a few steps back. The next moment, the ice and snow above our heads collapsed on a large scale, and hundreds of tons of ice and snow fell, completely blocking the corridor. In front of Liang Yue, the black monster disappeared. Liang Yue was so angry that her whole body was shaking. She turned her head and glared at Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu. You idiots. Fatty Zhu was so frightened that he quickly hid behind Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi put his hand up with a smile and said to her, you're welcome. We are all human beings, and we should help each other. Liang Yue was so angry, she raised her sword in her hand, pointing the tip towards Zhang Yi's face. Do you know what you did? We won't get another chance at killing that monster. This was my last chance. It won't fall into the trap again next time. Zhang Yi looked innocent. Oh, is that so? I just want to help you. I'm afraid you will lose to that monster, he said and pointed to Yang Xingxin in the classroom. If it weren't for your students who were worried about you being harmed and came to beg me, I wouldn't interfere. Liang Yue gritted her teeth, with a look in her eyes as if she wanted to bite Zhang Yi to death. You bastard. She was so angry that she rushed towards Zhang Yi with a knife. Seeing her murderous intent, Zhang Yi quickly stopped smiling. It's not nice for such a beautiful woman to look angry. While speaking, he raised the golden sand eagle with both hands. Bang! The huge recoil made Zhang Yi's shoulders tremble, but the power of this bullet with supernatural powers is indeed huge. The ghostly light danced in the air, with a pop sound. Bullet holes appeared in the walls on both sides. She actually split the bullet with her bare hands. Liang Yue, a top martial arts master blessed with supernatural powers, can even split bullets. In an instant, Liang Yue was approaching Zhang Yi with a knife. This is the moment he has been waiting for. The dimensional door opens in front of you. Liang Yue sensed the dangerous aura, but her speed was too fast and she had no time to dodge. Liang Yue disappeared directly into the dimensional gate. Zhang Yi counted 2 seconds in his mind, immediately opened the dimensional door, and released her again. Liang Yue collapsed directly to the ground as if he had collapsed. What was that? Liang Yue gasped for air, her eyes full of fear. Walked up to Liang Yue, snatched his hand to her very beautiful sword, and held it in his hand. In order to prevent you from getting angry casually, let me keep such a dangerous thing for you. Liang Yue stared at him angrily, as if he wanted to eat someone. Give me back my sword. Okay. Don't be angry. Being angry will hurt your health. Well, here are 2 students. Help your teacher. Go over and have a rest. Liang Yi sat leaning against the wall. Her body was so weak that it would be difficult to even stand up. She could only stare at Zhang Yi and say harsh words in a non-threatening tone. Who are you? What is the purpose of coming here? Zhang Yi looked at Yang Xingxin and said, I was entrusted by her family to come and take her away. Leave? The eyes of Liang Yi and other students showed hope. Then can you take us away too? Zhang Yi felt a little impatient. He said in a cold tone, I'm just here to take her away alone. As for the others, you should find a solution with your own family members, since you are so outstanding. Can you do a good job and save these children? They are the hope of the future of the motherland. She said to Zhang Yi, looking at your condition, your life must be very good. You should have a good place to live and enough food, right? When everyone saw that Zhang Yi was unwilling to take them away, they became anxious. Are you kidding me? People number 40 and 50 asked Zhang Yi to save them. Some of them have discovered that Zhang Yi does not intend to take them away. So several students quietly approached Yang Xingxin and held her hostage. You must take us all away, otherwise we will strangle her to death. Zhang Menning said. Zhang Yi sneered. He ignored Yang Xingxin, but looked at Fatty Zhu and Uncle Yu and said, Tell me, why are there so many self-righteous people in this world? As he pulled a police pistol that was easier to control. Bang, 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 bang. After 4 consecutive shots, Zhang Yi took action without hesitation. The 4 students next to Yang Xingxin all had blood holes on their foreheads. Liang Yi opened her eyes angrily and pointed at Zhang Yi. You actually killed these children. Zhang Yi sneered and said, Everyone looks so young, and they even know how to threaten others with their classmates' lives. Do you call these children? Zhang Yikai ignored their moral kidnapping and walked up to Yang Xingxin with a gun in his hand. Seeing the dead people on the ground, Yang Xingxin's face didn't show much emotion.
Hope you like the chapter. See you guys in the next one soon.